Hey, this is Eric from TicketSpice, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can create an amazing reserved seating layout like this for your event where individual people are going to choose a specific seat and row for your event. We're going to cover a lot of things such as how to set up obstructed or accessible seats. We'll talk about seat holds and seat price tiers. We have a lot of great things in here. So that's what this tutorial is about. And I created this all using our layout venue creator here. And this allows me to create this seating chart. And I built this from this example from our customer here. So I'm going to walk you through how to build this exact layout, start to finish, using our layout chart builder here. So let's get started. All right, to create a reserved seating layout event, you can either create your venue by creating a new page and ticketing page, and it'll prompt you to create a venue there. Or under the extras here, you can go down to reserved seating layouts. You can see a list of all the different venues you've created. You can add them, you can modify them, you can clone them from there. But I'm going to show you how to do this from start to finish. So we're going to create a new page, and this is going to open up the wizard. And the most important thing on this page is you go down here to the reserved seating type. And I got a couple options here, and we're going to choose this page type. And this will allow the ticketing page set up to expect a reserved seating layout venue. So we'll hit get started. We're going to give this a name and hit create. Now we're inside the builder here, and I'm not going to spend time on showing you how to customize all of the controls here. I've done that in other demos, but what I want to focus your attention on here is this section here where this says we need a venue to be specified, and we can use a previous venue. So if you've got a past one, you can choose one of the past ones, or you can create a new venue. So those are going to be your two options there. And so for this, I will create a new venue. And the first thing it's going to ask me to do is to name it. So let's give it a name. All right, we got a name. We hit next. And now it's going to ask me to add my first element. And the very first thing I always do is I'm going to create a shape for a stage. But I just want to show you in here, we got sections, we have a general admission area, so you can mix and match reserved seating with general admission. We have tables and we have pods. And pods are where someone can create a grouping of tickets, but they have to buy everything in the pod. But I'm going to do a section here. And so the very first thing here, it asks me to name the section and also how many rows and how many seats are in that. Now let's take a look at our seating chart here. And I want to walk you through how I think about this. And the first thing I'm going to look at is how many different sections, and they are all different named, 1 through 5 or 6. But then I'm going to look at the naming conventions. So in this example, the seats are named 1 through 5 sequentially, and sometimes they'll skip, they'll do odds and evens, but this one is sequentially 1 through really 23. And then the rows are A through Z. And a few things to notice here on this little legend, these numbers here are telling me how many seats are in this row. So that is what that means. And this customer wants the seats named 1 through 23, and then the rows are A through Z that way. But on the other side, check this out, it goes 1 through 5 the opposite direction. We have a few different gotchas in here. We've got a little section that's got a cutout. We've got some curvature here. We have some seats over here that are obstructed, and so we need to classify those. So we have a lot that's going on here. But we also have, notice this one has got 24 seats in it. So we've got some interesting use cases here in addition to making these really complicated shapes, but I'll show you how to do all of that. So I'm going to first create section 3. And we'll reference that again here. I'll call it section 3. And this has 20 rows and a maximum of 23 seats. And when you create these, it's good to create the maximum that is there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the maximum rows and seats, and then we're going to delete the ones that are not needed there. That's how you want to think about this, is create a larger block and then start to carve away what you don't need. So we'll move that there. Forgot the most important part is a stage, and so we'll add this here. Always good to add a stage right in there. So we'll make it nice and big like that. And the stage will set the focal point. And if you're using the selling order, it'll reference that. I'm going to zoom out here. You've got little zoom controls here that you can zoom back and forth. But right here is my section. And I might just reference this real quick here. And so the first one we see is, I can tell this is 1 through 9. There's 9 in that section there. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit the edit, and this is going to open up a little panel here. And let me take you through this. One, it's going to give me the ability to modify the rows and the seats. And so I have those controls there. And then it has the naming. And so the row naming, it is already A through Z. And so that's great. I see that over there. I can have the labels be on a given side. So I don't need them on both sides. So I'm going to just click on the right side. And then the seat naming, it's 1 through 23. But if you notice on here, it's going the opposite direction. We need to reverse it. So we are going to swap that direction. And so there I have my 1 through 23 that goes like that. And then you can choose alignment, rotation, skew. I'll do that in a moment here. But I also like to modify sometimes the spacing here. So I'm going to bring the spacing down because if you look at the seating chart here, all those are really tight. So we will do that and hit OK. And so then I'm going to move this here in the center. And then we need to start cutting away the different seats. So if we reference, again, this chart here, we can see that I need to cut away the ones on the side there. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to reference this on the other screen. I'm going to zoom in. And so I can hit edit here, and I can go for the first one. There's 9 in that first section. I'm going to click and I'm going to hold shift, and it's going to select all of those in that range. And I'm going to go over here and delete. Pretty nice. And the next row has 10. So I'm going to select 11, hit delete. Next one has 11. Select the 12th, go down, hit delete. And now I'm going to do this for the rest of the row. All right, so you can see that we have our section taking shape. Again, these were 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we can see that here all of those seats correspond there. So we're looking good so far. I'm going to go and now cut out that little bottom section there. Okay, we got our cutouts there. And now that section has a little bit of a curvature. So I'm going to go back and edit, and I'm going to give it a little curve. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, what I notice also in the venue, there's another little gotcha here, and that is the number of seats that are in each section here. So we see in here, this shows 13 more here, 12 here, 10 there, 7 there. So I'm going to go and remove the remaining seats there that don't need to be there. All right, that's looking pretty good. So that section 3 is done. Let's take a look at the seating chart here again. And so we've got another section, and it goes 1 through 24 and has a small curvature. So we are going to now look at this one. And one way you could do this is you could clone this and then flip it. So this could be a way to create matching venues. And what's nice about this, you're like, well, shoot, all of these just, these seats are gone now. Well, what's nice is if they're gone, is you can start to add them back here. So I'm just going to add these back real quick. But you could have created a section from a brand new one. But since I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and create these. All right, and then one thing I also noticed is that this row has 24 seats. And what you'll notice there is it added the 24th seat to the other options there. And I can again hold my shift key and click and remove those. And so then I can find the rows over here that have 24. And the labels here you see are now on the right. I'm going to switch these over to the left. So I'm now going to go do the same exact thing. I'm going to cut out the different seats I don't need, and I'm going to make sure all the right numbers are set up here. Okay, so there I have my right section, and I forgot to give it a name. This one was section 4. And so I can just continue to go through here and build a venue. But I want to highlight a few different things here again in the panel. One is that we can add seat views to the actual seat sections. And so you can add multiple images in there. Again, you've got spacing controls. So I've already noticed that my rows are a little bit tight for what the venue is, so I can expand that to make it match my example. And so we'll add that. And then any seat in any row that you want to modify or override. So I can choose this seat, and let's say I want this seat to be seat 20 or 10. You can manually override those there. On each of these seats as well, you can classify them as accessible, obstructed. You can do that. You also can shift entire rows. So I selected the row here, and then I can move this to the left and right. And so that allows me to give those custom shapes there as well. And I can also delete all of them as well. And so really powerful controls here. So that's the basis of how you create the sections. And so now I'm going to do a quick 3-second montage, and I'm going to build the rest of the venue, and you can see me do it right now. Going to pause real quick on building this layout and show you this tricky section here. So we've got the section, and notice that it's going to be straight up there and curved down below. And there's a number of ways you can do this based on flipping it and playing with the skews and the arrangements, but I'm going to show you kind of a manual way here. But here's a little gotcha, is this M row is offset. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this whole entire row, and I'm going to delete that row, and I'm going to rename this section to be nothing, or that row there, and then I'm going to name this one M. And so that's going to now create that kind of gap that's there with that venue. So we can see now I've got my M over there, and so we can now remove some seats here. It looks like we have 6 up front there and then 11 across. And so I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to go first to my 6. So let's go 1, 2, 3. And we're going to remove those seats. And now we have to rename these, because on here, this will go 1 through 6 and then go all the way up to 17 there. So now we have to rename these ones, so which is easy. I now can go in here and give this 7. I'm going to go here, 8, and so forth. So I'll fast forward this, and then I'll show you my next trick. All right, so we got all those renamed. It's looking good, but now how do I bring all of these and shift them over? Well, as I showed you before, we're just going to take the rows that have less than 17, and I'm just going to select them by hitting edit, and I'm going to select the row down there, and see it selects the entire thing, and I'm going to shift them up. So that's how we're going to create that straight side there with the curvature and kind of the offset. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the rows now. Okay, and as you can see, now that looks pretty good. So I'm going to now create this section, and I'm going to try to flip and create the other section by cloning this other one. So the clone sometimes can work pretty well, other times not as much, but let's try this real quick. Let's go ahead and clone this section here, and it's going to put it in the center, and we're going to make sure to give it an updated name. This is section 2. And now we're going to play with it and rotate it and get it there. So I'm going to, so I was able to clone it, flip it. Sometimes you just gotta play around with it a little bit to find which kind of option to do it. But again, you have to be really careful, because this might have different numbers of seats. So I already can tell that on the other one, it had 10, and this one has 9. So I'm going to go now and review this to make sure all the seat numbers are correct. All right, now that section is done. And so the last is to clone this one and put it over. Again, you might just be better off creating it from new, but I'm going to clone it here. And then I'm going to rotate it. So rotate it, and let's now flip. There we go. All right, that did it. So now I can put it here, and let's give it the section name, which is section 1. All right, so now I can look at my venue. I can compare how that looks. And I think we're doing pretty good. So liking that. Certainly you can play with this as much as you want, but that is how you create that venue. And again, all these things you can move and modify, tighten it up if you like. And so all this customization is yours to perfection. So that is how you would lay out all of your sections and your seats. Now let's talk about the certain seat types. I know on this venue that there is a wall here, and so the first 3 rows of these are obstructed. So let's go and hit edit, and then I'm going to go and assign these first 3 as obstructed and save. So I'm now going to do that for all the first 3 on this side in the back and that side now. All right, so I got those seats now classified as obstructed. And the same thing if you want to classify a seat as accessible or wheelchair enabled, you can select a seat and then just mark it accessible. So that's where I'm going to stop here with the venue creation side. So that is a pretty advanced tutorial on how this is. This is a difficult venue, so hopefully that is really helpful. The next step in going live is you now need to set pricing tiers. And how this is going to work is you're going to create different tiers. And maybe you say we've got 3 tiers. We've got our Premier tier, and we'll call it Premium. We'll call this next one Standard. And then let's do Economy. And then maybe we'll do one for Obstructed. Obstructed, there we go. So what we now need to do is we now need to assign every seat one of these price tiers, because then you can manipulate what the price tier is on any given event. So for example, let's say we want to set the first, let's go 6 or 7 rows here as the premium. And so again, you can just use your mouse, click, and then hold shift, and then click another row, and then you assign it there. So you would do this for all the premium seats that you want. Let's go there. Do those 4. We'll do the first 4 here as well. And that's how you set that. So now, and if you want to make an entire section a certain tier, you just hit the section name and it'll select them all. And so that's how it works to assign tiers. The other way that you can do assigning tiers is you can paint almost like a paintbrush. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose the obstructed, and I'm just going to paint. So I'm just going to move my mouse, click and select them. You see they're all selecting there. And we're going to go those, and they're going to hit that. So hopefully that made sense. So we'll go this other one, and we can select these, holding down my mouse. I'm not holding down shift, I'm just holding my mouse click, and it's able to basically paint those sections, and I'll do obstructed. So now we can assign a different price point for obstructed. And then for the standard and the economy, again, you can either paint or you can select entire rows. So because I've got partial ones in here, maybe on here I'll choose these 4, we'll choose standard, and the back ones, let's do the economy on those ones. So this is a typical setup. So with that in mind, let me go finish marking all of them for their appropriate tiers. All right, so all of my price tiers are now assigned, and so on the ticketing page, I can go and assign a price to each one of these tiers. So that is how that works. So all of those are working, and I can go over here and I can preview, and so I can now see and test each individual seat, what section, seat, and price tier it is. Let me explain some other features here. One is the selling order. Now, if you're going to do best available, this shows you how the system will choose the more premium seats. And so that is how that will work. It'll choose the focal point from the stage and work backwards. You also can do manually assign, and this would be a way that you can manually order every single seat in terms of a selling order. That'd be a ton of work. Don't recommend it, but that's what that does. And so there you have it. And as you go along, you want to save the venue. You also can copy this if you want and make iterations of it for different shows. So really powerful there. let me talk to you about seat holds. And seat holds is a way that you can issue a code for people to get access to very specific seats, as well as maybe a section. And so you've got two ways in which seat holds can work. So we'll go click holds here, and I'm going to add a hold, and I'm going to give it a name. We'll call it the Smiths. Maybe the Smiths are our VIP guests. And so we are going to choose the first four. We'll do these 5 seats for the Smiths. And so you can either make this visible to the public that it's being held, or invisible. If it's invisible, it'll just show unavailable. And so this will be the Smiths code here. And then we're going to choose a release date, which means that the Smiths have to reserve these tickets before a certain date, or they get released back to the public. So we can choose on Halloween there. And so we can say yes. So the Smiths have that. I can add another hold, and let's say this is a youth group. And so maybe a youth group has got a certain few rows where they all want to sit together, but as opposed to the hold as a group where the Smiths have to get all 5 of those tickets, this other option will allow people to choose their seat within that kind of section itself. So let's say we want to hold back rows I, J, and K, and for the youth group, and we're going to allow them to make an individual selection there. So how that works is when they use that code, an individual person can choose any one of these seats that's being held back. These will be held from the public, and these ones, the VIP people, they'll have to get those seats there set as a group. And so you can always come back and make modifications to this as well. So we might want the youth group holds to be done on the 24th as well, and we can save. So now with that, we can go back to our ticketing page. So we're going to go up here to our ticketing page. And so we now have a number of controls here. So this is connected to my venue, so I can edit my venue, I can change the venue. I also can set a number of unique properties here where you can say, I don't want anybody to buy more than 4 tickets, so you can control that here. But we have our different price tiers here, and now we need to assign pricing to them. So we hit edit on here, and we can say the standard or the price for premium is going to be $50. And let's add a fee of 6%. We also support the notion of price points. So you can have multiple price points. There's standard, student, child. Maybe we won't want to add one for veterans or seniors. So we can add seniors. And we can say for ages 65 and over. And so we have that. So now we can say, okay, for seniors, it's a $35 ticket plus 6%. And you can enable student pricing if you like as well. So that is how all of this works. So I'm going to go assign pricing to all the rest of these tiers. Okay, so now I have pricing for all of my tiers. We have our premium seats, which are $50 plus a 6% fee. We've got a price point for students and then seniors. For standard tier, economy, and then obstructed, we're making only $5. So you got a lot of options there. And again, you can manipulate all of these as much as you want, add additional price points to your heart's content. Now below here, you remember we set up those seat holds. You can assign pricing to those seat holds. So we can hit edit seat holds, and we can say, well, the Smiths are VIP, and so they're going to pay nothing. They're going to get their front row seats for free, and that's great. Then our group hold for the youth group, maybe we're going to offer them their seats for $10 as being part of that group hold. So we'll hit done, and then we have the codes that are there. And once I publish, I will get specific links there, and I'll show you that in a second. But below, you can customize the rest of the ticketing page. I've done other tutorials on all the design, on all the other options here, so I'll leave that be, but we're going to hit save, and then we're going to hit publish, and now this is going to render our venue and tell me I'm confirmed. So now I can hit view published. All right, so here we have our ticketing page with our reserved seating layout. Isn't it beautiful? We spent so much time on this, and you can see here we've got our VIP holds here. We've got our youth group section, so that shows unavailable. You can see where people can toggle to see the accessible. People can browse by price point, so they can see all the different student or senior price points. They can also filter down here based on the prices for the tickets themselves. And then individuals, they can choose their seat, then go in here, choose a seat, choose their price point, and then add to order. And so they can view their order, they can go to checkout. Once they hit checkout, they can see their seat, they can go back, add more, enter coupon codes, and exit out. And so that is how that works. Pretty slick, huh? Let's talk about the seat holds real quick. We're going to go over here to the Smiths, and we see that a link has been generated for them. We're going to copy the link. We're going to open a new page here. We'll paste in the URL. It has the seat code hold already in the URL. And guess what it does? It adds those to my cart already. So I am ready to go now check out. I can view my order. I got all for my seats, and I can check out then. If someone didn't have maybe like the link, they could enter the seat code there. And again, you could customize this to be the Smiths. And when they enter that, it automatically adds their tickets there. And let me show you what it looks like for that youth group. So we'll copy the link there for the youth group. We'll go back to our ticketing page. I'm going to enter that URL. And so now that opens up all these seats that are now unlocked. And so I can now choose a seat and add it to my order. And so I can use this as a way to pick my seat from a prescribed maybe group or team that all wants to sit in the same section. So that is how all of that works. So I've shown you a lot. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. You've enjoyed the layout builder, the price tiers, the selling orders, the seat holds, the price points here. The TicketSpice reserve seating platform is super powerful, and now you're an expert. You've seen it from start to finish on one of the most complicated venues that's there with a bunch of tricky parts. So hopefully this has been helpful. Appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, please reach out to our team. Hopefully have a great one. Thank you so much.